It's a country that's battling hate from around the world, while fighting terror from its neighbours, Hamas and Hezbollah. In this Sky News special report, we bring you on-the-ground reports from Israel's closest city to Gaza, interviews with survivors of the October 7 massacre, and we speak with the heartbroken but resilient Israelis who are desperate for their loved ones to come home.
And I missed him so much. I miss him more than anything. I would do anything to get him back.
Sky News Digital Originals presents Inside Israel. Making our way to the site of the Nova Music Festival massacre, nothing could prepare us for the sickening feeling that was about to hit. I'm here at the site of the Nova Music Festival, and it is hard to describe the shock, the sadness and the trauma that can still be felt here. Just looking around, and you can see the many kind, young and happy faces who were the victims of this atrocity that took place on October 7. It was on that day that 3,000 people gathered here to do what we should all have the freedom to be able to do, to dance, to listen to music and to enjoy your life. But it was on October 7 that the Nova Music Festival became the deadliest concert in history. 360 people were murdered here at this site and dozens were taken hostage by Hamas. Each one of these photographs represents a precious life stolen by terrorists who stormed the festival with smiles on their faces as they committed acts of pure evil. Shalev Biton was living in Melbourne but returned to Israel days before the October 7 attack. He says he went to the Nova Music Festival because he wanted to have a good time with his friends.
Beautiful festival, very magical environment, a lot of colors, very, at night it's become much more a bit psychedelic because all the lights and all of that.
After dancing and going to sleep, Shalev woke up that morning to the sounds of gunshots being fired from outside his tent. Within minutes, he was running for his life.
So we just ran on the road 200-300 meters north, and then I remember that I saw another guy that got probably shot. He had a lot of blood in his upper body too, and a lot of thousands or I think hundreds of people around me. Most of them shocked, confused, talking with on their phones. We started to run on the fields. The first 2-3 kilometers we did very, very fast because of the gunshots, and after 2 kilometers they continued to shoot on us and we just laid on the floor, on the ground. We started to crawl in some it was like a field after sitting, so it was a bit, it's like to run in a deep sand or to crawl in a deep sand. So we did that for a couple of hundreds of meters.
After hours of fleeing on foot, he knocked on the door of a stranger's home, begging to hide inside. Just when he thought he was safe, Shalev and his friends received a warning that terrorists were nearby. They hid outside, meters away from terrorists trying to hunt them down.
They were 40 meters from him, and they spoke with him, and the terrorists asked Yunus, where is the naked Jews that you are hiding here? So, and we heard everything. So everything, the whole situation is happening 50, 60 meters from us. So Yunus is between them, between us and the terrorists, and we are beneath that building, praying for our life. I remember the first thing that I thought in my mind was, wow, why it's so early to finish my life, and because I have a lot of dreams, a lot of plans for my life, and now it's a bit early for me. And the second thought that I had, it was, I'm not so religious guy, but for me that moment was, I think only God could help me.
Shalev was one of the lucky ones that day. He survived. Others were tortured and thrown into terror tunnels, and others were killed. 22-year-old Guy Dalal was kidnapped. The Nova concert was his very first time going to a music festival. His older brother Gal arrived early so they could experience it together. They were so excited, they sent a selfie to their mother from the festival gates.
At 6:15, he was already waiting for me at the entrance, jumped at me, kissed at me, sent a selfie to our mother. He was so happy. He and his friends were so happy. And it was really a magical moment. You know, this festival it was much more than a party or a rave. There were more than 20 different nationalities in this festival. You could see Arabs and Jews dancing together, celebrating peace and love, spreading peace and love, celebrating life in the most magical way.
Within a matter of hours, everything changed.
I was running and hiding for 9 hours without knowing what happened to my brother because we were split when the shooting started. And only when I was able to being rescued myself, I learned that Hamas already published a hostages video with my brother and 4 other Israeli guys from the party, from the festival. They were already in Gaza, in their tunnels, lying on the floor, tied down, saying their names to the camera. It was the only hostage video that you can see people from Gaza that was published on the same day. And this video was published 3 hours before I was able to rescue myself, which means my family, my parents, my friends, they were all knew that my brother was kidnapped. But no one told me, so I can focus on saving my own life.
The time Guy and Gal have been kept apart is taking its toll.
And we have this 7-age difference between us, but it's like we don't have it. You know, he's honestly my best friend. We see the same movies together, we play the same games together, we go to concerts together. And I missed him so much. I miss him more than anything. I would do anything to get him back. And I know I will see him again. I just want it to happen soon, you know. Thinking about him being subjected to physical, psychological, sexual abuse on a daily basis in the hands of terrorists, when he had nothing to do to this war. It's killing us as a family. You know, my mother, she don't sleep, she don't eat, she barely speak. My family cry all the time. They do what they can. Even here, coming here and speak to you, it's hard, but we do it because we need to touch as many as people as we can, to have as many as influencers and reporters that can spread our story about the peace-loving people that being used in this war.
19-year-old Nimrod Cohen was also among the 250 hostages captured on that dark day. His father, Yehuda, spends every waking minute trying to get him out, not knowing whether he is still alive.
We heard words from hostages who were released at the end of November, that they saw him there, alive and well. We hope he's still alive there.
Gal and Yehuda are living a nightmare, despite the pain Hamas has inflicted on them by taking and torturing members of their family. They say they don't want war. They want a ceasefire and they want peace as soon as all the hostages have been returned.
You know, these people were never supposed to being used as a currency in any kind of war. And as you already heard, none of us want this war. None of us want to fight. We don't want our soldiers to be in Gaza. We don't want our people to lose their lives. And I don't see any other way that this could end and that we could achieve a real ceasefire, a real ceasefire and a real peace without getting them back first.
Our lives stopped on the 7th of October. And if we can continue after our loved ones are back home, and as God said, it started with the kidnapping, of course it started with the murdering, burning, raping, savaging, slaughtering. We cannot bring the dead ones home. The only thing we can fix from the 7th of October is the returning of the hostages living and murdered back home, back to the families.
And Shalev's message after surviving something so horrific is to chase his dreams with a bit more power.
I like to appreciate every moment in my life a bit more, because you don't know when it will finish. You can't actually imagine, because I thought in my mind that I'm going to a party with my friends after 2 years that we didn't meet each other. And we discovered after a couple of hours that we are running for our life.
We arrive at kibbutz Kfar Azar. We're taken inside a home where this young couple were murdered. The final text messages between the young woman and her mother are displayed outside. The kibbutz is still haunted by the acts of terror. We make our way to Sderot, Israel, the closest Israeli city to the Gaza border, which has frequently been the target of rocket attacks and incursions. I'm here in Sderot, the closest Israeli city to Gaza. Just behind me is the Gaza Strip. It's around 800 metres away. Between here and the border is essentially just a buffer, and we can see on this road behind me aid trucks going into Gaza. We are so close to the active part of this war zone. Every so often we can hear and see rockets being fired. More than 50 civilians and 20 police officers were killed by Hamas militants on October 7. In Jerusalem, the streets are lined with people deeply disappointed in their government. Well, as you can see behind me, Israelis turning out to the streets. They're gearing up to protest. We are outside government buildings, and these protests are taking place every weekend. Tonight, it's expected to be quite a big protest, so we're expecting to see around 200 to 300,000 people take to the streets. They're calling for the release of the hostages, and they are also calling for an election because they want Benjamin Netanyahu out of power. As we travel close to the border with Lebanon, we receive briefings as Israel prepares for the next stage as the conflict intensifies and rockets are being fired from Hezbollah. Uriel is a doctor in northern Israel who is living with the growing threat from Hezbollah.
We always have to be ready, thinking about, your options. What happens if there's an alarm right now? Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna shelter? We have, daily rocket alarms in this area, and in our hospital every other day we have to run for shelter, more or less. We have to go and get into the bomb-proof areas. So yeah, it's quite disrupting, and really forces you to stay focused on the war all the time, which after 9 months it is challenging.
Uriel says people in Australia and other parts of the world just cannot understand what it is like to live with a constant threat.
We have been shaken to our core. This is an existential issue. It is the stark realization that people around us are hell-bent on just killing and destroying us in the most horrible ways. It is very difficult to convey this to people that live in places that are not under threat. So I don't know if our friends in Australia, you can understand what it is to know that right beside you by the border, there's a group of people that the moment that you wink, the moment that you don't notice, they're just gonna be coming in and just butchering and killing you just for being who you are, just because you're Jews. That's enough for them to want to kill you. It is tough, and also the sheer horror of the things that were perpetuated on October 7th last year is something that just doesn't leave you. There's an ongoing mental health crisis in Israel. It's no less than that. And the effect on kids, the effect on relationships, the effects on work. There's 60,000 people that are displaced from their homes. It's it's difficult to even start and convey and explain all the ways that this has changed our lives. But this is terrible. And I'm gonna be honest, the world's response makes us feel a lot of despair sometimes, because you see what's happening in the world and you see how easy things are forgotten, both the recent history and past history.
Uriel and others live in fear when they see anti-Semitism displayed and ramped up all over the world following October 7.
From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! There is only one solution! There is only one solution! Intifada revolution! Intifada revolution!
And when you see all these protests going on in North America and Europe and other parts of the world, and the things that are being said and chanted, I mean, it's okay to criticize Israel. You know, Israel is not a perfect country. No country is perfect. And both internal and external criticism is valid. But when that criticism takes the form of, yeah, we should just kill all the Jews and destroy Israel, that's the way to get rid of the problem. You know, they say history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
He fears misinformation is spreading and people around the world are turning a blind eye to the actions of Hamas.
So yeah, let's try and understand what's happening in Gaza without even mentioning how it started, who's in control, who's in charge, and just quoting their lie after lie and disinformation after disinformation, right? Like quoting the number of dead without mentioning that number has been down revised recently, and that those numbers are provided by Hamas, a terrorist organization, the designated international terrorist organization. So this viewpoint in JAMA is literally saying that we should believe the terrorists whose goal is to kill every Jew everywhere. And mind you, we're just the beginning. Christians and every infidel is next. Yeah, we should believe their numbers and whatever they're saying. You know, when mentioning the sorry state of Gazan hospital, they forget to mention that those are actually military bases, which is horrible. Like it is a disaster to think about it. But you cannot overlook the fact that Hamas openly and publicly states that having their civilians killed is good for them, and that's part of their strategy and their tactic. And all of that just goes out the window. Now, you can criticize the way that Israel has responded. You say that perhaps we should be doing things differently. I'm not going there. As I said, there's valid criticism, but that criticism has to start on facts and not on hate and disinformation. And when you see that all the discourse, including in these prestigious journals, in the best journalism, North American, European journalism, where everywhere, it's just, it's like a horse running in its track. And it's so difficult to distract people from this mentality and tell them, listen, it doesn't work like that. There's a bit of nuance to this conflict, and there are two sides that need to be understood. But we're on the way of Israel is bad. We've normalized anti-Semitism.
This is an Israeli family. For the past 9 months, they've been raising their baby daughter in a hotel in Jerusalem after being forced to flee their home in the northern part of Israel on October 8 as the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah escalate their attacks.
Hard to be here, but nobody want to be here, but we want to go.
אנחנו נוסעים פעם בשבוע לקריה, איפה שאנחנו גרים.
We go one time in the week to the home in the northern.
משתדלים לראות, זה כואב הרבה.
It's paid a lot.
אבל אנחנו מחכים לסוף, אין מה לעשות.
And we wait, they finish.
יש לנו עסק עם טרוריסטים, זה לא בני אדם.
We have something in the terror, we want to finish this.
Yeah, finish this. What's helping you get through?
All the friends here, all the family, we like a big family. We love this each other, and you see?
Are you holding on
Everybody here, family.
Yeah. Okay?
And this is your daughter?
Yeah.
And this baby born here.
Yes.
This baby, so
This baby
זה
born
חיוך
here.
יפה.
And all this
זה חיוך יפה.
grandmother and grandfather for me.
they're among 50,000 displaced Israelis who cannot return home because it is no longer safe.
I can tell you that right now, these terrorist butchers are sitting on our fence. and they're attacking us daily. And so people cannot go back to their homes and to their communities. 60,000 people are living in hotels and in rentals and in all, and with family and in all kinds of untenable solutions for the long term, obviously. And for them to go back to their communities and their homes, no one is going to do that with Hezbollah at the border, especially after seeing what Hamas has done in the south. No one in their right mind would be willing to take on such a risk. Nor would the state of Israel agree to it, of course. So there has to be either some type of agreed real solution.
So what is the solution? Like many people we spoke with in Israel, Uriel says there cannot be a ceasefire until all the hostages have been returned.
There's a very easy way to end what's happening in Gaza, which is return the hostages and renounce terrorism. So if there's anyone in Australia who thinks that taking hostages and torturing them and killing them is wrong, and if anyone in Australia thinks that terrorism is wrong, then that's all you need to understand why the conflict is unfolding the way that it's unfolding.
In the heart of Tel Aviv, there are reminders of the people who were taken on October 7. More than 100 are yet to be returned. I'm here at Hostages Square, which has been set up by volunteers for people to come to this plaza and pay tribute to the more than 100 hostages. This place is filled with a lot of sadness, a lot of desperation, and family members and loved ones are coming here trying to grasp onto a glimmer of hope because they don't know whether their loved ones are coming home alive or dead. Their loved ones live in hope one day they will be reunited again. Nearly every person we spoke with in Israel told us that they want peace. But something almost as terrifying as having terrorists as neighbours is the rise in anti-Semitism displayed right around the world, while the people of Israel suffer through unimaginable pain and heartbreak. But despite all the hate in the world, the people of Israel are united. After surviving the Nova Music Festival massacre, Shalev makes music to help him heal and express himself.
זה לא נתפס, הדיסוננס הזה בין החיים למוות, בין השמחה לעצב, אנשים, מקום שוקק חיים, נפגעים, נטבחים, נעלמים. שומעים את הרוח בין העצים, כאילו לפני כמה חודשים לא נהרגו פה ילדים של החיים. לנו נשאר להתמודד, לשאול את אלוהים. ועכשיו הם למעלה רוקדים, ואנחנו כאן עמומים, לא מאמינים. ילדים של החיים, לנו נשאר רק לקוות, להאמין שוב